All of the Psalms are wonderful, but right now we need Psalm 90. In this psalm, the poet laments, "The span of our life is 70 years, or given strength, 80 years. But the best of those years have trouble and sorrow. They pass by speedily, and we are in darkness." Okay, so that's a downer. But the truth it shares is important. Our span on earth is limited. There is not a year that will not have some trouble, and ultimately, it all passes by speedily. You can't argue those facts. But the beauty of Psalm 90 is the advice that it gives one line later. "Teach us, therefore, so to number our days, that we may attain a heart of wisdom." I will put that in simpler terms. God, help us appreciate each day. Our duration on earth is finite. It goes by quickly. And being aware of that fact encourages us to number our days and make each one count. It's a somber logic, but it is logical. Our life is a steady march toward death. We prefer to put that out of our mind and not think about it. You have to. But if we never think about it, we will not appreciate how special every day is, and we may end up wasting our precious time on earth. At this moment, you are doing something right and good. You are attending a Yizkor service. At these services, you cannot help but reflect on your own mortality. Our reason for attending might be to honor a loved one who has passed. But once we are here, we read a liturgy that is about death and filling our fleeting days with abiding worth. That is not easy or pleasant, but it's important. It's useful to focus on our mortality every now and then. It helps us appreciate the time we have. It helps us appreciate the time we have, and I hope, do something about it. Some people are writing off 2020 as a lost year. Friends, we can't afford that. No one is so rich in years that they can just throw one away. Do you think God is going to tack on one more year to our lifespans because 2020 was so meh? Do you think your doctor is going to say, "I think you will live 1 year longer because you spent a year sitting around and eating and skipping doctor's appointments"? This is the year we are having. This is the year we were given. We can't just throw it away. Friends, I'm not saying stop being careful. We need to be careful and diligent so we don't throw away all the other years as well. I'm saying we need to be safe, but also not give up on this year. We need to find a way to make it meaningful and even find some happiness. We can't do all the things that we used to do. It doesn't mean we can't do anything. I know you used to volunteer, but the places where you volunteered are not open right now, or they're open but not allowing volunteers. Okay. Now what? What are you going to do in the meantime? If it were just 3 months, I get it. You can hibernate for 3 months. But it's been 6 months. And even if they succeed in finding a safe vaccine, it's going to be many more months to come. We can't hibernate that long. Friends, I have to tell you that these high holidays came at just the right time. At first, I didn't see it that way. At first, I thought, what a terrible time for the high holidays, right in the middle of this slog. What kind of new year is this? What is going to be new right now? I was wrong. We can have a new year with our attitude. And the high holidays really helped me see that. Up to now, I've looked at this year as something that has happened to me, that I am a victim of this, and that I have to suffer through this situation that has been put on me. And I think many of us feel the same way. I did not cause the pandemic, and I cannot control the pandemic. It happened to me. And then comes Rosh Hashanah. And I start reading over the liturgy in preparation for the service. And it's all about my actions and good things I have done and bad things I have done. And all of the sudden, it hit me. I'm an agent of action. I'm someone who does things, good and bad. I make choices and control my fate in very meaningful ways. I was so focused on the pandemic and things beyond my control that I forgot about the power that I have for good and for bad. So the holidays came at just the right time, right in the middle of this pandemic, because this is the lesson that we need right now. A new year has just started. What are we going to do with it? What are we going to make of it? We cannot control the fact that it's not safe to do many of the things that we used to do and hope to do again. We can't control that. We have to stay safe. The Torah demands it. We cannot control these constraints that have been put upon our lives, but we can control how we live within those constraints. Are we going to improve ourselves this year? Are we going to read a quality book this month or take a class and learn something new? Are we going to complete some projects at home that we've been meaning to do and never found the time? Are we going to find a new way to volunteer right now and bring some good into the world right now? What new ways will we find to be fulfilled? What new ways will we find to be happy? I'm tired of being a victim in this pandemic. I'm eager to start this new year with a new sense of control over my destiny. Thank you, Rosh Hashanah, for reminding me that I have choices. I have the power to determine if my life is lived well. In a few moments, I will be reading all the names of temple members and relatives of temple members who died in the past year. It's a ritual we do every year. Each name on that list is a person, and each person a story. I want to tell you a story about one person on that list who inspired me. Her name was Susan Samuelson. About a year ago, Susan was working out on the treadmill, and she was short of breath and found it odd because she normally had no trouble with that workout. Within a week, she had her diagnosis. Her lungs were filling with fluid because of lung cancer. Treatments could mitigate some of the symptoms, but her lifespan would now be measured in months, not years. We were all devastated. Susan took the blow and reflected on it and came to this decision. She would spend her remaining days doing more. She volunteered at an animal shelter. She signed up for more hours. She volunteered at Booker Elementary. She signed up for even more hours. She volunteered at Ringling and asked to do more. She knew her husband liked to go out to eat, so she said, "We should go out every night." When her friends asked her out, she said yes to everything for as long as she could. She decided to double down on living and doing. Susan was a lifelong gardener, living in a downtown high-rise. It always bothered her that the company that managed the landscaping was careless. Now, she was going to do something about it. She put on her dish gloves and got busy pulling weeds. Meanwhile, the staff at the building were watching her in security cameras day after day in a different bed around the property. It turns out they were thrilled. They were also bothered by the weeds. They took pride in their building and how it looked, and it bothered them that the landscapers didn't. So they bought her proper gloves and clippers and cheered her on. For months, Susan kept at this new routine until she couldn't. She died in March at home next to her beloved Sam. Last month, Sam discovered that a plaque for Susan was placed under a tree on the property. Sam asked the neighborhood association who did this. They did not know. Sam asked the building manager if he did this. He said no, but he knew who did. He told Sam. The staff got together and bought the plaque and placed it there themselves. What would we do if we knew we only had 6 months to live? Susan Samuelson chose to get busy living and doubled down on good deeds. I hope none of us is ever faced with a diagnosis like that. But in a small way, we've all received that diagnosis already. We know that our lifespan is limited. We don't have endless years to squander them away, not even one. We cannot write off the next 6 months waiting for a vaccine. There's too much good to be done. There's too much good in you to let it go fallow. Keep your eye out. We will be sharing soon a bunch of ideas of ways that you can help now. God, help us be mindful of the power in our hands and the good we can do. Help us see the urgency that our short span on earth demands. Teach us to number our days that we may attain a heart of wisdom. And let us say,